momentarily. It's really important that I tell you that Catholic Healthcare West is the official healthcare provider of the Giants. They're the folks who bring you the 7-inning stretch at every Giants home game. They run 42 hospitals in the West, including St. Mary's and St. Francis Memorial, Sequoia Hospital in Redwood City, and Dominican Hospital in Santa Cruz. Without further ado, I will introduce you to, on my far left, and I've been practicing his name, Dr. Tony Saglimbeni. Give him a hand. The two gentlemen on the left are the key doctors, including the man in the middle. We call him Doc Ock, Dr. Ken Akizuki. And to my immediate left, a man who Giants fans by now I'm sure know, the great trainer, Dave Groeschner. If you have questions about anything medically related, you're welcome to ask the doctors, but they won't be able to speak specifically on players' conditions because that's private organizational matters. So, as you can hear, I'm a little scratchy. Oh, hi, Lauren. Good to see you. Didn't see you at the players' entrance like I normally would. Good to see you here. If you have questions, go ahead and raise your hand. We'll bring the microphone around to you. We'll start here with trainer Dave Groeschner. And Dave, let's talk about, in general, some of the injuries that you come across most often.
Well, in baseball, most of what we're seeing are chronic injuries, shoulder and elbow stuff, tendonitis. In our case, a lot of guys with sore arms, blown away. All our pitchers and our position players. So just generally a lot of chronic conditions. We send over to these guys, and they tell us what to do and patch them back together.
Especially with the pitchers, Dave, when you have situations where they have to throw to stay on course, how are you able to manage that while still giving them rest?
Well, it's pretty tough, especially at our level up here where, they need to be playing every day. Be available to the boats and but a lot of work with our staff, stretching, different type of treatments before and after the game, a little help from these guys with some medication, and just proper strength and conditioning as well.
One of the biggest things for you as a trainer is obviously the work that's done before the game, and something we've talked about in the past is getting ready for the heat and trying to hydrate, but this last year you played in the late October and early November. How did you switch gears and get your team prepared for the cold?
It's pretty easy. We play in the cold here every night, so our guys are used to it. Really we have a tough time when we go to St. Louis and to Miami, in the middle of the summer, or go to Atlanta. You can't acclimate in 3 or 4 days, so that's tough for us to adjust. We're built to play in October and November, because it's like that all summer long here, so our guys love it. We're used to it.
As the trainer, to have a season like last year where there were so few injuries, I know luck plays a definite factor, but do you look at that and kind of give yourself maybe a little extra pat in the back because there were so few games missed?
We pride ourselves in doing that. That's our job. We want to make sure that, like I said, the coach has all the players available to them every day. And that's our goal from the beginning of spring training every year. Things happen, certainly. You got to be a little bit lucky here and there for sure. But me, my staff, our doctors, we work our tails off, not only during the season, but in the off season. We really haven't stopped to try and prepare our guys, get ready for now the upcoming season again, so that they can make 30-plus starts as starting pitchers. The relievers make 60, 70 appearances. The position players are available to get 500 to 600 at-bats, and those are the goals we set for ourselves to get our guys ready for them.
Final question for me, and again, if you have questions for the doctors, it's the Ask the Docs section here, brought to you by CHW. Jim Winsicombe and his lack of love for ice. As a trainer, ice is basically your best friend. Do you have conversations with Tim about ice, or have you just agreed to disagree about his lack of ice?
As long as he goes out there every 5 days, he doesn't need the ice for him. I'm fine with that. Every guy has a personal preference. Fortunately, knock on wood, Timmy's been real healthy.
Knock on wood, everyone.
He keeps himself ready to go every 5 days. And, he probably won't admit this, but we've iced him a time or two when he's got hit by a couple of balls, especially in the playoffs. He got nailed, I think within 2 or 3 innings on his legs. And so we put a little ice on him. So he's done it from time to time. So I'm sure as he gets a little bit older, he'll see our side of it someday.
Folks, it's great that you all come out with enthusiasm and energy, but I'd like you to give this man a hand because he works 162 days on the field. The trainer, Dave Groeschner. Thank you, Dave. Now we turn our attention from the trainer to the 2 doctors, Doc Ock and Dr. Tony. And gentlemen, if you just give the fans an idea of the role you play specifically day to day, but also how you guys kind of spring into action in case of medical need. Dr. Ken Akizuki.
As far as what I do, baseball, as Dave's alluded to, is kind of a lot of injuries are day to day, a lot of injuries are chronic, and so part of it is just monitoring our guys, getting days off, treatment. So Dave probably gets tired of talking to me, but basically we make our game plans on a day-to-day basis, and I evaluate, he evaluates, and we have to make a lot of tough decisions. Some are pretty easy, and some are like disable this kind of stuff, and we don't have a crystal ball, but I think that's a challenge as far as we don't get a day off. Dave never gets a day off. Even right now, we don't have a day off. He's 365 actually, if you ask me, and all year round. So our involvement's day to day. Tony does the other part. Knock on wood. It's gonna be flu season soon. So come spring training, he's busy.
So about the flu season, do you, Dr. Tony, will you go to the players and recommend flu shots or even institute stuff like that and take the medical advice almost away from the ballpark?
So for the flu itself, we do encourage flu shots. Usually we recommend flu shots for the general population in what equates to the off-season, so the players aren't always with us, but we encourage them to go do that. I think almost every spring we've had our week or 2 of a bunch of flu cases, and it slows everything down. The veterans are probably not as concerned except they miss a couple days of conditioning, but the bubble players, it can be a big deal if they're missing the bulk of a week and they need to be impressing the coaching staff. So just like we would for the general population, we do encourage those kind of preventive medicine approaches.
When it comes to the flu, for example, and folks, if you have a question, we're going to turn over to you just momentarily. If a player has a flu, will you recommend a quarantine, or how do you keep that from spreading to the rest of the team?
Yes, definitely. Quarantine with the flu is, the influenza virus is one of the most contagious respiratory illnesses that humans get. So the best treatment we can give is probably get them out of our clubhouse and training room. We have medication for them that may help fight the flu. It's a virus, antiviral medicines. Some of them get real sick. Hydration becomes an issue. We might have to treat that as well. But quarantining, as soon as we know it's the flu, they're out of it.